hot seat. And this is the program Guts! Hey, Bill, do you want to comment on what I was talking about
I sure do. And I just want to point out the fact, I think Oliver North and a few people like him have seen the handwriting on the wall before it's even been written. Now it has been with what Daniel Ortega said. You're right. We got to move in there and do something.
Yeah, right on. Yeah. Do it now.
Yeah.
Don't forget, everybody here in Southern California, if you're watching us here in L.A. and vicinity, be sure to watch me every day, Monday through Friday, here on KDOC TV 56. Hot Seat Highlights. I do a commentary every day, 4 o'clock for 4:30. Do a commentary, and then we show you some of the most outrageous and ludicrous moments from the past 6 years of Hot Seat, right here, Monday through Friday, 4:30. Join us. Tell your friends. Now, you ready? It's time for the mailbag! So, hey, here's a real nitwit. Hold it. Hey, this guy's name is Harold. He says, you know, a real cute. He says, dear Walnut. Oh, come on. He says, I use your show to sleep with. Every time I turn your show on, I fall asleep. Oh. Hey, Harold, hold it. I'm glad you're sleeping with my show, Harold, because believe me, you'll never be able to sleep with anything else. Yeah, okay. Here's one from a guy. Oh, this is bad billing.
Uh-oh.
This is from a guy who signs his name Fritzy. Is Wally, I think you should quit your job as a talk show host and become a full-time stripper. Hey, Fritzy, I think you should become a full-time inmate at the flea farm. Here's a nice one now.
All right.
That guy has a kind of a limited vocabulary. His name's Jonathan. He says, Dear Wally, you're a cool dude, man. He says, your show is cool, Janice is cool, and you're a cool debater. It says, signed, Jonathan. Hey, let me tell you something, dude. Hey, dude, you're not only cool, you're awesome! Okay. He might even be a little bit rad. What do you think? Okay. All right, let's go to the audience now. Let's bring our first from Wallflower. Who said that? Okay, come on up. Yes. 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 Okay, can I have your name and your question? Hold it down, please. Shh. Hold it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, well, my name's Shane from Laguna Hills, and I just wanted to ask you, what do you think about Zsa Zsa Gabor getting to pick her own jail cell?
Well, that elderly bimbo. I think she should have spent 30 days in L.A. County Jail. Without her false eyelashes and without her makeup. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
My name's Jim Lorenz from Chino. What do you think about the summit in the Mediterranean? What do you think about the summit in the Mediterranean?
Well, I have one thing. Okay, I give my approval, but I'll tell you this. I send this warning to George Bush, our president. They may be having this meeting, but Mr. President, when you go to the meeting and you look that little beady-eyed freak face, remember, you can't trust that man. He will say one thing and he'll do another. So I tell the President of the United States, he better keep watching and he better keep looking over his shoulder. Can't trust him.
Yeah, my name's Ray
Hold it.
from Goonie Hills.
Yeah, Ray.
And I just want to start saying, is this crowd tonight? Or
Hey, man, they're real cool. And rad. Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what you thought about David Rothenberg's father being out in a month.
Well, let's explain that little David Rothenberg is the child who was practically killed by his father, who poured acid all over the little boy's body and left him to die. And this man, wait a minute, and the father is now released and is now a free man. I say that father should have received a death penalty. We'll be right back. And we're back. Wally George here with the Hot Seat Show. And we're going to get to my first guest in a moment. But first, I want to remind you once again, a little reminder to you people watching in Los Angeles, Southern California, every Monday night you can join me on the radio on KLAC for the Wally George Great American Radio Show, 570 on the AM dial, the home of the Kings, the home of the Lakers, and the home of the Wally George Great American Radio Show from 7 to 10 p.m. every Monday night. You can call me on the phone for 3 hours, KLAC 570 on the AM dial. And now, Bill, it's time for my first guest, and this is kind of unusual, I would think.
Very unusual. I can hardly believe it myself.
It may be a first that this has happened.
Could be. Well, anyway, the first is you're going to debate your own personal physician
My
and
own
surgeon.
physician for 15 years.
That's right. A guy who knows what he's doing in the medical business, and he's got...
Well, I thought he did.
Well, he's supposed to. He's licensed and everything. Anyway, you're going to debate him on an issue that's going to be really intriguing. His position is that we should legalize marijuana and decriminalize everything else. Here's your doctor, Dr. Keith Kenyon.
Hold down, gang. Hold it. Hold down. Now, Dr. Kenyon, hold it, gang. Now, Dr. Kenyon, I've known you for a long time. I've always thought you were pretty good. You kept me healthy, but now I think this guy has flipped his lid. Now, you want to legalize marijuana, and as somebody in my audience pointed out, marijuana can lead to baldness. Dr. Kenyon, from the top, you don't smoke marijuana, do you?
I have never smoked marijuana, but you sound like you smoked it, Wally.
Dr. Kenyon, you're a medical doctor dedicated to keeping people in good health. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? And you are now, as a medical doctor, a physician and surgeon, you are calling for the legalization of marijuana and the decriminalization of heroin and cocaine.
I want to save my patients' lives.
What's that?
I want to save my patients' lives from not having to be shot by all these gangs running around with these illegal drugs.
Oh, now, come on.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
not the answer.
Oh, yes, it is. We have lost the battle.
Wait.
Just like Vietnam, we lost the battle.
You say we've lost the battle?
You bet your life we've lost the battle of drugs.
I say we are Americans and we never lose the battle. Dr. Kenyon, wait a minute. You may want to throw up your arms and surrender to the drug people, but I say we have just begun to fight. Now, Dr. Kenyon, the drug problem here in America, marijuana, cocaine, heroin, is the main, the worst, most horrifying problem we face domestically in centuries. And as Nancy Reagan has been saying for years, just say no. Dr. Kenyon comes out here and says, just say yes.
No, I don't say that. I say just say yes under very strict conditions.
Oh, under strict conditions.
Absolutely.
Dr.
We have to
Kenyon,
decriminalize it.
wait. If you legalize, hold it. If you legalize marijuana, what kind of message is that sending to the kids, to the rest of the world? And I'll tell you, how can parents ever say to their kids, you should not smoke marijuana. And the kid can say, hey, what are you talking about? Hey, the government has legalized it. Isn't that right?
Well, is the government telling people not to smoke cigarettes? Isn't the government telling people not to smoke cigarettes? Isn't the government saying don't drink? Isn't beer now not selling so well? They're worried about it. They're even having near beer being sold.
Well,
you educate them. God, well, you never were educated, but you got to educate the kids.
Listen, you don't educate people by legalizing or decriminalizing drugs.
Baloney, sure as hell do. If you try.
Dr. Kenyon, don't you realize when you legalize, you are going to when you legalize marijuana, you are going to make it easier to get marijuana.
Oh, baloney. It's so easy to get now. My God, I practice 4 blocks from the Van Nuys police station. My daughter is a deputy district attorney 4 blocks away prosecuting these drug addicts. And at the same time, if I go to a street 3 houses down from the police station, you go buy marijuana. If we do this...
Yeah, but Dr. Kenyon, hey, here I was thinking, so you can go down and buy marijuana at your nearby 7-Eleven.
That's further away. That's further away than your next-door neighbor.
Don't you realize... You try to tell me that marijuana is not worse than alcohol? I have...
Boy,
hey,
hold
let me
now, Wally.
Hold on, doctor.
Not worse.
Let me teach this doctor a little medicine, huh? Let me give you a little... Hey, let me give you a little dose of your own medicine, doctor.
I'm going to give it back to you, Wally.
I'm going to write you a prescription. I think you should have a few sessions with Dr. Ruth.
It'll be better than a few sessions with Dr. Wally.
What I'm saying is, when you legalize, do you know that marijuana almost always leads to taking stronger drugs like heroin, like cocaine, just because, okay,
You're
sure.
wrong, Wally. It doesn't almost always. It does sometimes, and alcohol also puts you that way. So does starting to smoke cigarettes. If you can smoke cigarettes, you can smoke crack.
How come, Dr. Kenyon, the Surgeon General, who I think knows a little more than you, don't
Wait, hold the phone. What do you mean knows more than I?
The surgeon...
We went to medical school at the same time.
All right.
I know everybody as much as he does.
Surgeon General C.F. Recoup has stated publicly that almost every person who is now on crack cocaine, who is now on heroin, started first with marijuana. Now, how do you answer that?
I answer that he's wrong.
He's... Oh, he says the Surgeon General
Why not?
And he's right.
Why not? Almost everyone is a big, big statement. There's a lot of people around here who have smoked joints of marijuana, and they are not smoking cocaine, and they are not smoking, not shooting heroin.
It isn't. Hey, C.R. Coop, the AMA, almost every doctor, every psychologist who studies drugs, Dr. Kenyon, will tell you that the hard drug users start with marijuana, and you want to legalize marijuana, and our drug problem is going to be 100 times worse in the United States of America.
It can't get much worse. It's so bad now, the only thing we can do is, if we're not going to decriminalize and get the drug situation under control, is to build hundreds and hundreds of more jails, and maybe we should put a gallows up in every neighborhood and hang a few people publicly. And then after we hung all the drug addicts, they'll start hanging each one of us.
The answer is not to legalize drugs, not to decriminalize drugs. The answer is to keep them illegal, and let's get tougher on the drug dealers.
How many jails do you want to build? How many police do you want to hire? We'll have to have 4 times the police. We'll have to set up a police state.
Dr. Kenyon, why don't you say something sensible? As a medical doctor, instead of saying let's legalize marijuana, let's decriminalize, you're throwing up your hands and surrender. Why aren't you standing up as a doctor and saying, no, we will never legalize in the United States of America, but we will take drug dealers, line them up against the wall, and shoot them?
Because we don't have the the guts to do that. We as a nation don't have the guts to do that, Wally. Maybe you do, but I don't think everybody does. I don't think we want to do this as a nation.
I don't think we want to legalize and decriminalize drugs. Do you? I rest my case. I'll be right back. And we're back again. Here we are, Wally George with Hot Seat. And I can't believe it, Bill. I have my own physician on the show, and he's getting me so mad, I'm going to have to get another doctor, I think, real quick. I can't believe it.
I can't either, but I have a question that I'd like to ask the doctor. The doctor's obviously an educated, intelligent individual here, and he said some things that have been kind of inflammatory, but I think he must have a plan behind that. So I want to know, if we decriminalize drugs in general, if we legalize marijuana, how is that going to help?
The way it's going to help is we'll get control of it. We'll get it off the streets. We'll get it into doctors' clinics with licensed, people who are addicts. I'm not saying to everybody, but people who are addicts.
Hold on, Dr. Kenyon.
Yeah.
As soon as you legalize marijuana, it's going to be marketed by people who make cigarettes, and they're going to be advertising.
No, the government has to market it.
They're going to be advertising, but they're going to be advertising.
No, I'm not for that. I'm for having.
Well, okay, if you're for it or not, they're going to do it, aren't they?
Well,
once you legalize a product, the manufacturers, sure, the drug lords won't be making the money anymore on the streets, but the manufacturers will be making a lot of money,
No, the
and they'll be
manufacturers
advertising marijuana.
They can't. It'll be illegal.
How do you know it'll be illegal?
Because you'll put it in the bill to legalize it. There's no advertising.
If you legalize marijuana, Dr. Kenyon, then it would be unconstitutional to forbid the manufacturers to advertise. Am I right?
No, right. The government controls cigarette advertising.
Yeah,
they take it off the radio. They take it off.
But cigarettes are advertised in newspapers, in magazines,
and now
on
they're
billboards.
talking about restricting that, and they will. The AMA will restrict cigarette
How do you know they will?
Because we say so in the journal.
Just because you say doesn't make it true.
Well,
Dr. Kenyon, you frankly don't know what the hell you're talking about. No, I'll tell you something. Marijuana, let me give everybody, including you, Dr. Kenyon, a little education. You say marijuana that the alcohol is just as bad as marijuana. Wrong. You know, you take some alcohol, you go out and get bombed and on booze. In 24 hours, the alcohol is out of your system and you're back on the job. You take one joint of marijuana, and that marijuana stays in your brain cells for as long as 3 to 4 weeks. I think that makes a point that marijuana is damn worse than alcohol. How do you answer that?
Well, I'm saying that's great. You have to educate people against marijuana.
But
you're getting it now, Wally. You're getting it now.
You were just saying alcohol is as bad as marijuana.
I say they're both terrible. And pretty soon,
marijuana is worse.
And Wally, pretty soon they're going to put Tagamet over the counter, and that is more dangerous than both of them.
Well, we're talking about marijuana now.
Well, I'm telling you about how bad the government is in some of its decisions.
You say how marijuana isn't that bad. I have some facts for you, Dr. Kenyon. When investigating college dropouts, the Board of Education in California found out that almost 85% of college dropouts were heavily into marijuana. Also, they found college students before taking marijuana were getting straight A's, and all of a sudden they couldn't understand what happened. Their grades plummeted to C's and D's, and they found out the reason the straight A students, their grades plummeted because they found out they were heavy users of marijuana.
And where do they get this marijuana? Where do they get it? Where do they get it?
Where do they get it?
Yeah.
From pushers.
And where are the pushers?
And
where are the pushers? They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
If you have Dr. Kenyon, if you have your way, just a minute. If you have your way, it'll be even worse because you can go down to any drugstore or grocery store and you can buy a pack of marijuana anywhere in the United States of America. Do you think that really is right?
No, I don't think anything is right, what we're talking about. I say that we have to get a control of the situation, and the only way to get control of the situation is to legalize it and have it under strict government regulation and take it away from the murderers who are distributing it now.
That's not the only way.
Well, I think so.
The way you're doing it is surrendering to the enemy.
And the way you're doing is to continue the dope pushers, the guns around Van Nuys, the busts all the time right around my office. Every day you can see the cops busting people.
Well, I say this. We are a moral, decent country.
Not in Van Nuys we aren't.
Well, hey, don't you think it'll send a horrifying message, not only to our kids, but to the whole world? If all of a sudden our government says, oh, well, I guess we've lost, let's legalize. Isn't that wrong? We can't do that.
Let's just keep the Uzis going. We have Uzis all over the place, bumping people off, pumping innocent people because of drugs, illegal drugs. Let's take the profit out of the illegal drugs.
Well, but the profit is going to go, it's not going to be lost. The profit is going to go from the street peddlers to the manufacturers, the big manufacturers.
Well, they're not quite as dangerous, Wally.
Well, yeah, but they'll make it a lot easier to get drugs.
Well, I don't think it's going to be that way because the drugs themselves are going to have to go through doctors, through prescriptions. Through licensed.
Well, not marijuana.
Well, marijuana.
You've got to be available anywhere.
In order to decriminalize drugs, you've got a marijuana sitting around, and the marijuana just simply isn't controllable any more than alcohol is. You can grow your own just like you make bathtub gin.
Okay, let's go to the audience and get some questions going. Yes, Jerry, come up. Okay, can I have your name and your question to the doctor?
I'm Linda Cotton from Newport.
Yeah, Linda.
And I'd like to ask you a question. Instead of putting all the time and energy that you are into legalizing it, why don't you put all that time and energy into stiffer penalties and punishments?
Yeah, right on. Yeah, why not?
Because we don't have enough jails now. If we want to hire about 4 times the cops we've got now and build hundreds more jails, then let's slam them away like you want to do.
Dr. Kenyon, she's right. You're wrong. Let's put our efforts in. Let's build jails. And if we haven't got enough...
Let's set up a police
Hold on, Dr. Kenyon. If we haven't got enough money to build more jails for the drug dealers, then let's go out in the desert and build some concentration camps for them. Okay, yeah.
I don't think we will, Wally.
Well, I think we should, Doctor.
Well, maybe you think we should, but you've got to get Congress to do it.
Let's put some barbed wire fences up out
There's
in...
too much money in illegal drugs, $200 billion a year.
Let's go out in Death Valley and get about 100 acres or 200 acres of land, put up some barbed wire, and throw all the drug dealers in there. How about that? Okay, go ahead. Yes.
All right, this is Mike from Fullerton. Dr. Feelgood. What would you say...
Dr. Feelgood, I like that.
What would you say if they legalized it?
Hold it quiet, please.
You have children, right?
I have a deputy district attorney for a daughter and a doctor for a son.
Okay.
Okay, what would you say if your children wanted to take drugs?
What would I say? I'd say you'd better not. Over your dead body.
Wait a minute.
I'm not for drugs,
Dr.
Wally.
Kenyon.
I'm for controlling it.
Wait a minute, Dr. Kenyon. Let me ask, how hypocritical can you get? Here he says he would tell his children they better not take drugs. And on the other side of his mouth, he's saying, let's legalize it and decriminalize it. Wait a minute. Is that hypocrisy? How can you say that? How can you tell your kids, don't take drugs?
If everybody would tell their kids not to take drugs, we wouldn't worry about illegalizing or legalizing. No one would have been taking them. My children don't take drugs because I educated them the way everybody should do.
Why would your...
Because there's too many homeless children. There's too many fatherless blacks in the ghetto who have no place to go but to the drugs.
But why would your children listen to you when you tell them, no, it's wrong to take drugs, and then watch you on television saying, let's legalize it, folks, and let's decriminalize it? Isn't that ridiculous?
Because they have more intelligence than you, Wally.
Oh, yeah, sure. Okay.
They're willing to listen to logic.
Okay, hold it.
You say you want to legalize marijuana because of the drugs and the gangs and stuff. But if you were to legalize marijuana, wouldn't you be taking the profit away from the gangs and force them to go to higher drugs and try to sell more?
Yeah. No. How do you answer that?
No, because we're going to decriminalize the other drugs, put them into legal channels through doctors' offices with licensed addicts. The addicts have to get a license.
Why?
That gives...
Wait a minute. Why do you want to decriminalize such horrifying drugs? Hold it, gang. Such horrifying drugs which are strictly for pleasure as cocaine and heroin. Why would you decriminalize such horrifying drugs? We're trying to get people to stop taking them. When you decriminalize it, you are allowing people to get this horrifying stuff, and the drug problem continues.
No.
Isn't that right?
No, that's wrong. Because we will then start to rehabilitate people. I have ways of rehabilitating people in my office if I can take it down gradually from the drugs using electromedical devices. Well, you've seen my things. I can do it and I can succeed, but I can't succeed with today's climate. I'm not even allowed to treat an addict.
Well, I don't think you should treat anybody as long as you're going to legalize drugs. Okay, yes, next. Okay, yes. I think you may have a supporter here, Dr. Kenyon. Okay, go ahead.
This is from Tom from Hollywood, and
Oh, from Hollywood. I can imagine.
okay. Why don't?
Hold it. Yes.
I think we should legalize marijuana since the government's spending over $4 billion to try and prevent it, and it's still you can get marijuana as easily as alcohol from the store. So why shouldn't we legalize it?
The reason why is because when we do it, you stupid pervert. When we do it. Hold it. When we do that, hold it, gang, the United States, hey, once you legalize it, then that means the government of the United States of America puts its seal of approval on drugs, and the American government should never do that. You're out. Yes, next. Okay, yes.
Yeah, my name's Sean Keitlinger, and I'm wondering how you can condone a drug which causes sterility in males and causes potential lung damage and brain damage.
Absolutely.
I don't condone it. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm saying we have a problem that's out of control, and I'm trying to get some control over the situation.
And I'm saying this, Dr. Kenyon, the problem we have is people like you who don't know how to face it. And I say the answer is no legalization, but the death penalty for every drug dealer in America. Hi, Wally George. Now's the time to come down and see my good friend Bert Bachman at Gallup